So we need two things open to get started. The first thing we need open is Dreamweaver, and at this point it should look something like this because you've closed the preview of what you saw. You also need to have your website layout for your foods website. And this is where you created the header, the article, the nav inside the main, and then you have the footer at the bottom in CodePen. Because we're going to transfer from CodePen to Dreamweaver because we've learned that CodePen is doing a lot of work for us that creates like the body, the head, the HTML, and it's not actually a file we can have on our actual website because we have to have the actual HTML file. There is no HTML file yet. So in Dreamweaver, the first thing we're going to do is create a new HTML file. When you do this, you can do this in a couple different ways. You can do it here by choosing Create New if you're on this preview. You can always go to File, New, and that will do the same thing. It should open up a dialog box where you have the ability to do a new document, starter template, or site template. We're just going to do our own because we've created our own template of our own layout, and we're going to start with an HTML. Once you choose your document type, you can see not only is there an HTML, but you should recognize, oh my gosh, there's a CSS file too. So now what we're going to have is actually two files talking to each other. If you think about your CodePen right now and what it looks like, let me go to it. You have an HTML box and you have a CSS box. These are two separate areas talking to each other. And we're going to have two separate files in the end, an HTML file and a CSS file talking to each other to work together to create the website. Remember that a website is created from multiple files coming together, like your images. Your images are not inside your HTML file. The computer is finding the image file and bringing it into the HTML file and displaying it. This is a really hard concept because it's interesting because we always think of files as being all together, but they're not in this case. We're linking and bringing them in. So in this case, we're going to create an HTML file, and we're going to leave everything at the default because I don't want to use any of these settings yet. I want to walk through what an HTML file is with you. And then we're going to hit create. You'll notice that on your screen, you have a couple different options. The first thing I want to go over is up here at the top, you have code view, split view, and live view. Code view will only show you the coding and not a preview of your page. Split view will show you both, and you can see my code is way down here. I'm going to drag my cursor over the bar that connects the live view and the code view and bring it up so I can see my coding and my live view at the same time. And then you have live view, which just shows you what the page is going to look like in live format. This is a lot like our CodePen because in CodePen we have our split view going on. We have coding, and then we have the live view of what it's going to look like. Here, what we're going to do is we're just going to check out a couple different things. I'm going to go into the body tag, and I'm going to hit enter just below the body tag. And we're going to go over every one of these tags again. But again, everything you want to appear on the page up here in the live view needs to go in the body tag. And I'm going to go ahead and write hello world, just like we did when we first came into CodePen. And you'll see that that text will appear up here in the live view. You can then go to the beginning of hello world and make it an H1. You'll see that Dreamweaver being a WYSIWYG, which is a what you see is what you get, and it is a coding helper, will close the tag automatically. You can select that close tag for H1 and click and drag and drop it at the end of hello world once it's selected. You'll then see that hello world becomes an H1, which we recognize, and you can see that in your live preview. This is all just very similar to what we've been doing in CodePen, but now we have all these new tags that we're going to go over and what they are creating for the page. But what I think is also very important is that right now our file is called untitled1, which means it's never been saved. It's just an untitled file that's currently being saved in your temporary files of your computer, but has not been saved to an actual location. And it has a little asterisk next to it, which means it definitely has not been saved recently and changes have been made. So we need to save this. But the question is, where do we save it? This is very important because, like I said, managing files is going to be a very big deal as we move forward. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and save this file and then talk about the coding that's available.